So you said you had a couple Avs questions.
Okay, so first off, are the Avs like the best team to ever be assembled based on game one?
They are
against the
not.
Knights?
They're probably not the best team to ever be assembled yet. Maybe they're gonna have to win some stuff. The Islanders won 4 Stanley Cups in a row, so that's kind of a hard bar to compete with. And then
Sure, okay.
and that was even when there were 12 teams instead of the 6 when Montreal had those. But I mean, this team does things that I've never seen a team do. Like, that 2001 team they won with is the best Avs team they've ever had, especially when before Forsberg lost his spleen. That was the best team they've ever had. But the things that this team does, I've never seen. And I don't know that they definitely haven't had a top 3 forward line defenseman and goaltender since 2001. So that's really impressive.
So being the very baseline Homer hockey fan, I've watched, count them, 2 of the last 2 Avs games against the Golden Knights. And game 1, that was like one of the most incredible and dominant performances. Is that the true Avalanche team? Like between game 1 and game 2, they won both, but game 2 was an overtime squeaker. Which team is more likely to show up next game?
The team, like game 1, is closer to how they play when they're playing their best. Like that is their best hockey, where it's fast and the other team can't keep up. The problem is the Knights are one of the few teams that can keep up with them. They just have to be playing at their best too for it to be more like game 2. And the Avs kind of stopped skating in the second period. And then it took them a long time to sort of get even with the Knights. Like the Avs were lucky to not end at the second period behind, because there was a shift with the third line with Jost and Nichushkin where it was in the Avs zone for 2 minutes. And you're just like, how did they not score? Like that was just terrible. And I hadn't seen the Avs have a shift that bad probably in 6 weeks. Like it's been a long time since they were that bad, and just for over the course of like a whole shift even.
Yeah, having like one set of biases based on game 1 and just then looking at game 2, like, do something.
Yeah.
Come on. Like I'm waiting for McKinnon to play like NHL 2K player, just look, there's guys in front of you. Well, then just skate faster and around them.
Well, and the other thing is the goaltending just going forward is so much better, because they're going to have, they have Fleury in this series, who's, an all-time great goaltender, won 3 Stanley Cups, 2 of them he was the goaltender for with Pittsburgh, led the Knights to the finals in their first season. And then the next series, they're either going to have Carey Price, who is the one that just shut down Toronto, or Connor Hellenbuck, who I think was actually the best goaltender of the regular season, even though he didn't get nominated for best goalie finalist. And then probably in the finals, you're going to get Vasilevsky, who's probably the best goalie, going to win best goalie. So it's going to be a challenge, because it's the one thing that can stop you in the playoffs is the best goaltender or injury. And so that's it. Yeah, if they can stay healthy, I think that they are going to have a really good chance to win it all. But they haven't been this healthy in years. So I don't know. Like, they don't even have an injury right now. They just have, Bo and Byram, Eric Johnson are hurt and aren't playing. That's bad. Matt Calvert's not on this team. He's hurt. They're lucky people have been able to step up there. But of their playoff roster, the only person who's out is Kadri, and it's because of a suspension, not because of an injury.
Which actually leads to my last question. So in the playoffs so far, there's been like 3 major suspensions.
Mm-hmm.
Kadri, Reeves, and
Scheifele.
For the Winnipeg Jets, which I think they're going to become my next team. I'm just going to adopt the Jets because what's happening in Winnipeg. But I've like seen a lot of complaints that the NHL is just like very arbitrary with their punishments.
Yeah.
And so do you think that it's fair that Kadri, although a repeat offender, was it fair for him to be suspended 9 games when you look at Scheifele's hit, he's only suspended 4. And that was like, if there's a thing that this doesn't belong in the sport, it's the hit that Scheifele laid down.
I'm not sure. I guess I've seen it in football where a player is unconscious while they're still in the air and you can tell they're unconscious while they're in the air. I don't know that I've ever seen it in hockey where it was that obvious, where his body sort of crumpled through the air as he was going on that, on the Scheifele hit. And now
then it was messed up because then they were like fighting. There was like a tussle happening right over his body. And it was his body because he looked absolutely out.
I mean, the whole thing makes absolutely no sense. And the guy who's in charge of player safety was an enforcer, first of all. And he had a clothing line that I don't think he owns anymore, but Ryan Reeves was one of the first people that had wore the clothing. So they already have a relationship, because Reeves also is not known as a clean player. Like, this is not a surprise. He should have been suspended from the last series because he pushed Sutter into the goalpost. Like, he cross-checked him into the goalpost and he hit his head. And like, the thing that I think the rule should be is, what is the intent? And Kadri had like 2 seconds maybe to just make a decision. Scheifele was on the other side of the ice. Like, obviously he was premeditated. Reeves not only threw Graves onto the ground, but then put his knee on his head and then pulled his hair out. Like, he knew everything he was doing there.
Yeah, geez. That's well, okay. So I have one last question. This is specifically to the series.
Yeah.
Why Vegas is new? They're like an upstart team. Of course, won in their first, or they lost the finals, but in their first season. Why does hockey Twitter hate them so much?
I think that's part of it.
Okay, cool.
That they, are so new. They changed the expansion draft rules before Vegas. So instead of like if there's an expansion draft in the NBA and everyone got the 10th best NBA player, no one would care. But like equivalently, they probably got like the 4th or 5th best player. Like, they were getting, late second, early third line guys instead of 4th line guys from every team.
Sure.
And that caused some issues. And then especially Canadian fans and East Coast fans do not think that hockey should be fun. And so they hate all of the fun teams. So they hated Nashville when they made it to the finals. They hate Carolina because Carolina does like fun things when they win. And they hate Vegas because not only does Vegas have fun, but they have showgirls, doing things. And they have like a whole castle set up where they have the Golden Knight come out of, like, it's like a Disney on Ice show before every game. So like, hockey purists just hate Vegas because it's like, we can't have fun in hockey. This is supposed to be serious. Basically, that's the explanation.
Yeah, I never knew hockey was like a gentleman's sport, like golf. But okay, that gives me, because people were like just rooting so heavily for the Avs, but it didn't seem like they were rooting for the Avs. They were just like against Vegas. So
McKinnon, is by far the biggest Canadian star left in the playoffs because Crosby's out, Matthews is out, McDavid's out. So that also has some influence. And I mean, I think everyone agrees that McKinnon is the best playoff player in the league, just like no question, because he's 3rd all time in points per game of players that have played more than 40 games in the playoffs, behind Gretzky and Lemieux. Like, that's arguably crazy. The 2 greatest players of all time, or 2 out of the 5 greatest players of all time. So yeah,
that's
I think
okay.
The Avs, if the Avs can win one of these next 2 games, I think they'll win the series in 5. Is my prediction. So